I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
It makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
On the nation, Waldorf Nation. Welcome to the show. It's Friday. It's the end of what has been an incredibly long and pretty terrible week. Of course, we're gonna have more details on that, including the police changing their story time and time again about the Uvalde massacre. We also have the police officers pretty much blaming their terrible response to this on a teacher. I'm not kidding. I've got video of that. We have Lauren Boebert making ridiculous arguments. We have Ron Johnson making ridiculous arguments. And then we're going to switch gears. And of course, we're going to be talking about the Christian summer camp that ignored sexual abuse victims, because there were girls. And so we obviously can't do anything about that. Oh, no. We must protect the boys. We have to protect the young boys. You want to talk about groomers? Okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. So look, again, super tough week. We're at the end of it. So before I get into the show, programming note, we will not be here on Monday. So there's holiday Monday, so we're gonna be off. We'll be back on Tuesday. So everybody, just make sure to note that. All right. So yeah. Again, it's been a rough week. So it'll be nice to try to get away from it for a couple of days. All right. So, but that said, we got to get through this show before we can get to the weekend. So let's do it. Before we do, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out as always. Super chats, another way to help, and to, of course, get in contact with the show. I'd love to read your super chats and your comments. And so please do that. All right. Love the shirt. Thank you. Everybody loves the shirt. Everybody loves the shirt. What can I say? Everybody loves the Dragon Squad. So there you go. Funny how news like this can take weekends and holidays. We're still vastly better informed than most. Reflects well on you. I do my best. But, and I was reading some comments before we started, just, reading some comments from people who are like, well, I really, really enjoy watching the show. I love the show, but I just can't, my heart breaks. I can't listen to this, I can't, I've got to get away from it. That's what I'm reading in some of these comments. And it's like, yo, I get it. This is depressing. This is heartbreaking. This is just horrifying news. And we got to talk about it. We got to get through it, and obviously we got to try to get solutions to it. And pressure politicians and people that actually have the power to be able to do something about it, to actually do something about it, which again, unfortunately, is not an easy thing to do, especially considering how Congress just fucked off and took a weekend. But the point that I'm getting around to is that you have to have some self-care. You know what I'm saying? Ravaging Wolverine says we can't watch all the shows and we have limits. We do. We do have limits. Everybody has a limit. Everybody has to go back and to touch some grass, if you would. Just recharge, because there's only so much. I call it like a psychological assault from the news, and that's unfortunately what's going on. So yeah, and there's only so many hours in everybody's day. It's true. It's very, 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 very true. All right, so I see it's a birthday somewhere, but I'm trying to get whose birthday it is before I get into the show. So whose birthday is it? I'm gonna find it. Red Hobbit 3. Happy birthday, Red Hobbit 3. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your birthday with us. Really appreciate it. And also Jules' birthday as well. Well, happy birthday, or happy early birthday. Awesome. Red Hobbit 3 birthday tomorrow. Awesome. And Jules on Sunday. Again, happy early birthday. All right. So, we have to break the cycle of caring for a few days and moving on. That's what our opponents would like to do, and that's what they're waiting for. Let's not back down this time. Oh, no. I'm not saying that, Alex. No, it's not that we are breaking the cycle of caring or just not caring. It's trying to take some mental time, away from this onslaught of bad news, to collect ourselves and to continue the fight afterwards, and to take that fight, because I mean, you have to have some sort of like a little bit of recovery time to collect yourself after this tragedy, to then figure out a plan on how to fight on, and to have all that energy be able to focus on taking up that fight. Media saying Buffalo was a couple of weeks ago. Jeez. Yeah. All right. So let's dive into this into the stories. I've wasted enough time. Not that it's a waste to do birthdays, of course. All right. Let's get into the bad news. It appears that Uvalde police continue to change the details about their response to the deadly mass shooting that left 19 children and 2 adults dead in the small Texas community. Videos that circulated around social media showed police standing for over 40 minutes while parents were, of course, begging them to do something, to go in. Now, this is all while the gunman was inside, and that caused all sorts of outrage over the country, as well as having people look into the Texas Department of Safety. And so all of that and that outrage caused the police in that area to basically continue to revise their timeline of events, because there were some inconsistencies that were reported. Now, again, before I get into that, let's be fair, okay? Because, we do that. We deal in facts here. When shootings happen, when there are mass shootings, obviously there's a lot of different kinds of information that come out. Some of it's contradictory, right? So now the police have had a few days to, really spell out the timeline of events. And yet they seem to have a problem getting their story straight. And I think there's a reason. But we'll get into that. So first, let's deal with the details, okay? So now, earlier statements by police officers claimed that the attacker had been confronted and shot by an officer, or shot at by an officer, sorry. And that was supposedly outside the school. Now the police are saying that Romas had actually roamed outside of the school for about 12 minutes before entering the building, completely unchallenged. So now, where was that officer? Where were they? Well, we have details of where he was. Turns out he was chasing after a teacher. Drove right by the actual assailant and went after a teacher. So look, he went through the back door, killed 19 children, 2 teachers before he was shot dead about 90 minutes after he had arrived. So now we know also that the police, instead of going into the building to engage the shooter, as was the guidance that had become standard police practice after the Columbine High School massacre, which states that officers that are on the scene, the first officers on the scene, should do whatever they can to stop an attack without waiting for backup. They go in, rush in, try to save as many lives as possible. And yes, that means putting yourself in danger. What did they do instead? Well, we know from eyewitnesses that the police waited for backup and decided to tackle and handcuff parents who were upset at the police for doing nothing. One mother told the Wall Street Journal that she was briefly handcuffed and accused of impeding a police investigation. After demanding, along with other parents, that officers do their jobs and enter the school. Angela Rose Gomez said that she saw one father thrown to the ground by an officer, another pepper sprayed, and a third who was tased. All of that happening while someone was in the school massacring the kids, where the kids were bleeding to death, begging for help, and calling, by the way, the police multiple times, not knowing that the police were sitting right outside tackling parents. Now, that woman was released by a local cop, after which she then jumped the fence, ran inside, and rescued her own kids. The police were just standing outside the fence. They weren't going in there or running anywhere, she told reporters. An off-duty police officer also entered the school to rescue people. And then, of course, there are other reports of police coming in and rescuing their own kids. You also had parents outside that were saying to the police, why don't you just give us your gear and we'll go in and rescue the kids? If your fat ass is going to sit out here and eat donuts and not do anything, then we're going to do it. Now, of course, that's probably a bad idea. But hell, at least they would be doing way more than the police officers. Jesus. Now, again, I say that they were too afraid to go in. And I don't say that lightly because guess what? They actually admitted this. Here's a lieutenant with the Texas Department of Public Safety basically admitting why they didn't want to go in.
Don't current the best practices, Lieutenant, call for officers to disable a shooter as quickly as possible, regardless of how many officers are actually on site.
Correct. The active shooter situation, you want to stop the killing, you want to preserve life, but also one thing that, of course, the American people need to understand is that officers are making entry into this building. They do not know where the gunman is. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where this suspect was at, they could have been shot. They could have been killed. And at that point, that gunman would have the opportunity to kill other people inside that school.
Oh, if they had went in, they could have been shot at. Now, of course, we know from reports as well that the gunfire The vast majority of the gunfire actually happened at the beginning, before the police were there. They were not exchanging fire with the police. Simply not true. And did they say, oh, but you don't understand, they couldn't have gone in there because they could have been shot, they could have been killed. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry, you could have been hurt? Oh, well, that changes everything. Oh, man, yes. Sure, let's just let the gunmen sit there and make target practice out of our kids. Because God forbid, you could have been hurt. You could have been shot. Somehow, one guy with a gun completely outclassed all of our law enforcement gathered outside for over an hour. Somehow. Do you know how much of the Uvalde Police Department, how much of the budget of the city goes to the police? About 40%. You're saying the police couldn't be asked to do their jobs? They just couldn't. Oh, no, I could get hurt. And that one guy with 2 AR-15s that he had bought on his 18th birthday, that guy was better than your entire police force. 19 people, 19 officers were stacked outside the door. One guy. You're kidding. Again, they admitted that they had numerous police officers, again, 19 outside the room, who did not make any attempt to break through the door. Instead, they decided to pull back, and they waited. They just waited. Oh, man, the commander says, there's no kids who are in danger. Oh, really? Oh, really? Look, we even know that when the specialist unit arrived, it actually arrived really early on. And the Uvalde police said, no, you are not going to go in there and rescue those kids. You're not going to go in there and stop that shooter. Why? We don't know. Nobody's telling us anything about it. They're cowards. Absolute cowards. Trained to be cowards, to not take any, not one iota of risk to themselves. This is like a firefighter not rushing into a burning building to save lives. Well, then why are you there? What's the point? What's your job? I mean, you should accept that this is a risk that comes with the job, but as I've noted before, being a police officer in this country is not a dangerous job. I mean, look, you're far more likely to be killed or injured doing a normal job, working on a farm, being a pizza delivery driver. Far more dangerous than being a cop in this country. And by the way, the biggest killer of on-duty police officers for the last 2 years wasn't criminals, wasn't active shooter situations. No, it was COVID. It was COVID. COVID killed more cops because they decided not to wear a mask or get vaccinated. COVID. And we know why, because look, as soon as they see a black person, they immediately fire everything they got at them. Look at what happened to Tamir Rice, 12 years old. 2 seconds, they get out of the car, he's dead. Overwhelming force. Overwhelming. Because there's absolutely no risk to them. Nope. And it gets worse because they've lied about the response. You remember when Greg Abbott was doing his ridiculous press conference? He was talking about how, the wonderful quick response of the valiant local officials that had engaged a gunman before he even entered the school. Well, now we know that wasn't true. He said they showed amazing courage by running towards the gunfire. No, they didn't. Complete and utter lies. Lies. They didn't do that at all. They sat back and ate fucking donuts. That's what they did. According to witnesses there, like Javier Cazares, whose daughter, Jacqueline, died in the shooting. Here's what he told the Associated Press, quote, "More could have been done. There were more of them. There was just one of him. There's just one of him." They said they rushed in and all that, but we didn't see that. No, because they were too busy tackling parents for disrespecting them, telling them to actually do what we were told their job was supposed to be. Quote, a lot of us were arguing with the police. You all need to go in there. You all need to do your jobs. Their response was, according to them, quote, we can't do our jobs because you guys are interfering. Interfering with what? You weren't doing a goddamn thing. Police also initially said the officers were inside making entry and had taken cover after coming under heavy fire. That was revised on Thursday by Mr. Escalon, saying they didn't make entry immediately because of the gunfire they were receiving. Escalon also played down previous statements by police that there had been ongoing exchanges of gunfire during the previous hour. The majority of the gunfire was in the beginning. So they're basically lying to cover their asses. That's what they're doing, because they know that their position is indefensible, that they did absolutely nothing that they were supposed to do. And you know who's out there kissing their ass right now? President Joe Biden. He's not even going to open an investigation into this. President Joe Biden, a Republican, a right-winger. Oh, I know. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. Act like one. Fucking act like one. Come on. No, he's a right-winger. He's pro-cop. And he's always going to be pro-police. And he's going to help them whitewash this entire thing. He's going to kiss their ass. Because he already is kissing their ass. And look, again, I told you, let me give you more details on how the special unit, the Border Patrol unit, the elite unit, was actually stopped from going in once they had arrived. According to two officials briefed on the situation, members of the Uvalde Police Department kept these federal agents from going in as soon as they arrived for almost an hour. The agents from Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrived at some point between 12 p.m. to 12:10 p.m. And the shooter actually arrived at about 11:30 and was killed at 1 o'clock, roughly. They did not breach the adjoining classrooms of the school where the gunman had locked himself until a little before 1 p.m. Federal agents reports that they arrived to a scene of chaos, people pulling children out of windows while the local police, carrying handguns and a few rifles, were trying to secure a perimeter, according to one official, who, like the others, spoke on a condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. Border Patrol and ICE agents said that they didn't understand why they were left to wait. According to the official, eventually they decided to go in anyway. So look, this keeps getting worse and worse and worse for the police, who are not there to protect people, just property. The only thing that they were trained to do is to protect their own lives while your kids were getting murdered. One of the survivors, and this is incredibly heartbreaking, an 11-year-old named Mia, spoke to CNN about how she was able to survive. She said that a girl, she said that her and her friend managed to get a dead teacher's phone and to call the police. Now, the police were already there. She didn't know that. She said she was scared that the gunman would return to her classroom and kill her, because what was going on is this was two classrooms that were joined into one. So there was a space in between that you could go to both classrooms, right? So now she was scared that he was going to come back, so she had dipped her hands in the blood of a classmate who had lain next to her, already dead, and then had to smear the blood all over herself in order to appear to be dead. She told CNN that she assumed at that point that the police had not arrived on the scene, even though there were multiple calls to police throughout the entire time. She said afterwards she overheard talk of police waiting outside the school As she recounted this part of the story to CNN, she started crying, saying she didn't understand why they didn't come inside and rescue them. I mean, I know why. I know why. At the end of the day, the sad truth of this is that it's not their job. One of the biggest lies told in American society today is that the police are there to protect you. They're not. They're not. Numerous court cases have established this. It's a fact that the police do not have to act if someone is actively being harmed. They do not have to arrest someone who has violated protection orders. They do not have any obligation to protect you from others. I'll give you the court cases. Town of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez. DeShaney versus Winnebago County Department of Social Services. And there was also a case that was dismissed where you had a man, a stabbing victim, Joseph Lozito, who tried to sue the NYPD for not helping him. He was stabbed multiple times on a train by Maxim Gelman, who was going around killing people, stabbing people. 2 NYPD officers were literally a few feet away from this stabbing. Didn't do a goddamn thing to help him. Lozito, who was stabbed in the face, hands, neck, and head, ended up resorting to martial arts to subdue Gelman until the officers came out of the booth and cuffed him. And now they're heroes, those officers. In the court case, Lozito was told that no direct promise of protection were made by the police. And that's why he could not sue them. Hey, they never promised to protect you. That's not what police are for. Police are here to protect property. That's all they're supposed to do. They exist to protect capital and property, as well as the status quo. Their absolute cowardice and incompetence in this situation, and in many different situations, by the way, is, I think, proof that defunding the police has to happen. It's the right thing to do, because they're not here to protect us. No. And they prove it over and over and over again. Now the question is, of course, who is supposed to protect us? I don't have an answer to that. Because guess what? Allowing, depending on the good guy with the gun, also not a thing that's that we should be counting on. There is no one out to protect us. We are on our own. And that's horrible. All right, let's move on. In the face of mounting criticism for their reaction to the massacre at Robb Elementary School, the Uvalde Police Department recently did a press conference. And look, there were a lot of things that were said. You had a timeline of events that had happened. And so this officer, Stephen McCraw, is actually the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. So he's going to go through these things, and he's going to drop some information that I believe is there to deflect blame away from the police and actually towards the teachers. So let me give you that quick clip here, and then we'll discuss.
Suspected of where we knew the shooter entered, Ramos, was propped open by a teacher. 11:28, the suspect vehicle crashes into the ditch, as previously described. The teacher runs to the room 132 to retrieve a phone, and that same teacher walks back to the exit door, and door remains propped open.
All right, so now look, you might be like, okay, maybe he's just going through the events, just noting that there's a door that's propped open, that allowed the shooter inside. Oh, okay, but here's the thing. So look, police press conferences, they're not just dropping flippant information for no reason. No, I think they're very, very careful about what information they release and what information that they talk about, that they present to the public. And so when I watched that and he talks about this door, oh, it's propped open. It's propped open. The teacher left it open so that the guy could get inside. Well, that right there, bit of a red flag, okay? To me, it sounds like that he was absolutely blaming the teacher for leaving that door open. Oh, had the door not been open, the shooter wouldn't have gotten inside. Well, okay, but you can shoot through doors, you can shoot through windows with this AR-15, unless they're bulletproof. So I don't really know what other reason he would say that in this press conference that would bring up that very specific point. So for me, again, it sounds like they're saying, the damn woke Marxist teachers messing up again, letting that guy in. It's a real shame that these teachers are not actually there to defend themselves. You see, they're dead. They were killed. She was a victim. Both of them were. This seems incredibly ghoulish. Look, and by the way, according to surviving witness named Mia, the gunman shot out the window. Now, this is at the classroom. And so, look, maybe they're talking about the back exit. Okay? That back exit that he entered the building. Or maybe in the classroom. So she was talking about the classroom here. So now she said that the gunman had shot out the window as the teacher was attempting to secure the door after getting a text that there was an active shooter situation. He shot through the glass, entered into the room, and shot her. Now, by the way, that same shooter had been outside shooting out windows for 12 minutes. Unimpeded. Where was the security guard? Where's the school resource officer? Oh, right. He drove right by the active shooter that was shooting out the windows and chasing after a teacher. That's what would happen. It's what actually happened. So, look, what they're doing is, from what I can see, they're smearing a dead teacher who can't defend herself. And then again, that does not explain at all why the cops waited for a very, very long time, over an hour, before actually going in and preventing Border Patrol from actually going into the building. According to officials, the gunman had arrived at the school at about 11:28 a.m. and was firing for about 12 minutes into the school windows. At the same time, the school district police officer, again, drove right by in pursuit of someone else he thought was the suspect, but was a teacher, according to officials. But it gets worse. Over the next 78 minutes, more than half a dozen heroin calls were made to 911, at least 2 from students, describing unfolding carnage inside classrooms and begging for police. And as many as 19 police officers were gathered in the school's hallway shortly after noon. But Mr. McCraw said that they made no effort to breach the classroom door. The chief of police of the school district, who was the incident commander, also told Border Patrol agents, along with other law enforcement, that arrived to hold back from engaging the gunman. Mr. McCraw said, apparently believing the suspect had barricaded himself in the classroom and there were no children at risk. Well, now, look, he shot out the window and locked the door. They couldn't engage. They couldn't do that. If there were 19 of them stacked outside the door and they couldn't do that. One 911 caller said at 12:16 p.m. that 8 or 9 students were still alive in one of the classrooms. It's unclear how many of those were killed before police finally breached the door about 40 minutes later, after having gotten a key from a janitor. No children at risk, they said. No children at risk. I remind you that we had reports where police were outside these classrooms and told children to yell if they needed help. One did, and then was murdered, while the cops sat and waited outside. This whole thing just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Asked what he would say to the parents, Mr. McCraw's response was a mix of defiance and resignation, saying this: "What do I say to the parents? I don't have anything to say to the parents other than what happened. We are not here to defend what happened. We are here to report the facts. If I thought it would help, I would apologize." Now, the reason that you're not there to defend what happened is because the facts are indefensible. What you did was indefensible. Or I should say what you didn't do, which is what you were supposed to do. These police officers, they put their own safety and their own well-being, and by the way, the well-being of their own kids, above everyone else, above the other kids there. Absolute cowards, trying to blame a teacher who can't defend herself, who died protecting her students. And again, Uvalde Police Department gets 40% of the budget. How much of the budget did the teachers get? Did the students, did the schools get? How much of that budget goes to schools? How much do the teachers get paid compared to the police officers? How much? I see 100 times more bravery in students than I did the cops here. Move on. Lauren Boebert is not the smartest tool in the shed. Colorado is not sending their best when they sent her, when her district sent her to Congress, because not only does she not actually serve her constituents, something her voters have found out and are not happy with, but now she also goes on Fox News and says really dumb things like this.
Sandy Cortez tweeting at me, but she hasn't taken up my offer to actually meet and work together. And of course, we saw Beto acted like a total jerk and tried to use the deaths of these children as a prop to advance his political candidacy. When 9/11 happened, we didn't ban planes. We secured the cockpit.
No, we didn't ban the planes. Oh, yes. We secured the cockpit. Yep, and that's what we did. Really? One failed bombing attempt, and we all have to take off our shoes at the airport. And that's what happened. And by the way, it's we did a lot of things, by the way, than just a lot more than just securing the cockpit. I mean, you know why we didn't ban planes, to answer her questions? Because that would be stupid. Okay? That would just be dumb. And would, by the way, destroy the entire airline industry, obviously. But again, she seems to be ignoring all that. and ignoring all the stuff, that we did do for security. For example, the government literally created the TSA and gave them the ability to feel us all up at the airport if we want to go somewhere. Either get felt up or go through the x-ray machine. Not only that, but we created the Department of Homeland Security. This is under the Republicans, George W. Bush, an entire sprawling government agency to try to prevent that from happening again. Okay? I mean, you could barely bring anything on a plane now. But, okay, yeah, sure. But we didn't ban airplanes, though. We didn't ban airplanes. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, we also, by the way, literally invaded 2 different countries. Did that whole war on terror thing that cost trillions of dollars and lives, innocent lives. I mean, how many innocent Afghanis and innocent Iraqis were killed? And how many, by the way, trillions of dollars were made by defense contractors? All that. We also allowed the profiling of an entire religious group, Muslims, as well as numerous infringements on our personal liberty. The fact that our phone calls and metadata was being collected by the NSA, as revealed by Edward Snowden. Did anybody forget about that? She forget about that? Infringements on our personal privacy, our data, and again, the profiling of Muslims. She did forget all that, didn't she? So all of that in response to 9/11. So it turns out there's a lot that the government can do if certain corporations, defense contractors, can stand to make a lot of money, and right-wingers can amass more power, personal power over your lives. And again, since we can do all that, but we can't, we can do all that, but we can't do anything to prevent an 18-year-old from buying 2 assault weapons and 375 rounds of ammunition and to go up in a school. No, look, we know the real reason Congress won't do anything. For one, of course, the Democrats are weak and feckless, obviously. And they refuse to do anything about it because they don't want to upset Republicans. Oh no, we can't make Republicans and Fox News mad at us. They're going to run ads. Oh no. Same Democrats support a congressman. They stumped for him, spent money on behalf of him, along with PACs, campaigned for him. That's Texas's Henry Cuellar. A rating with the NRA. Incredibly corrupt. They supported him over progressive Jessica Cisneros. By the way, that same congressman, anti-choice as well. Oh, but we care. We care so much. We cared so much that we decided not to put up a gun bill and went on vacation instead. But then there's the Republicans, of course. The Republicans who get paid by the gun lobby to be their bitch. And that's what happens. They're paid millions of dollars in bribes in order to loosen gun laws and make it so that massacres like this happen even more often. More and more and more. Piles and piles of dead kids. They don't care. They don't care. As long as they get their money, as long as they get their, re-election, their power, they don't give a damn. Now here's the other thing. Boebert, like many others in the Republican Party, are now pushing the idea, several bad ideas, by the way, that we should arm teachers The same teachers, by the way, they're saying are pushing Marxism and indoctrination onto our children and can't be trusted to teach actual facts. Okay, facts that they don't like. All right. Those are the same people that we should arm with the finest amounts of weaponry and train them to spot which students they might have to shoot. And of course, that means more gun sales. Of course, you arm the teachers, you got to buy more guns. Buy more guns, you get more profits. And then, of course, hardening schools. Now, that means, of course, turning our schools into basically prisons. You know? More armed guards, man traps, bulletproof glass, bulletproof doors, high-tech security systems, hell, probably barbed wire fences and sniper towers. I mean, seriously. Look at the high-tech security firms, right? These contractors, they're salivating at the idea of potentially getting billions of dollars in government funding, government contracts, in order to try to make our schools into fortresses. That's what they want. So this is the effect of corporate rule. Democrats, again, being too weak to challenge them, and Republicans being too corrupt. And not only does Boebert and Republicans get to help the gun manufacturers, because they're going to get more gun sales, but now they're going to get to help security corporations that make all these man traps, these booby traps that probably won't work. Instead of doing, of course, common sense gun reform, gun regulation. But you know why they won't do that? It's because that's going to harm gun industry profits. They're just not going to make as much money. So I guess when you compare, when you say, protecting children versus, turning schools into prisons and not actually solving the problem, well, I mean, again, they're choosing not protecting children because that would cost them profit. These companies that bankroll them. And they would always choose, these corrupt politicians are always going to choose the thing that profits themselves either personally as well as their donors that they work for. Obviously, for them, it's a no-brainer. You don't even have to have a brain. Lauren Boebert's perfect proof of that. To see the money. These are the people that will sell out your kids for an extra nickel. It's exactly what they're doing. All right. To move on, we got more ghouls in this parade. It's endless. One day after Republican Senator Ron Johnson ran away from a reporter for asking simple questions about why he is not in favor of something that over 90% of Americans support, and that's a federal increased background checks, Ron Johnson then comes out on Fox Business to blame school shootings on wokeness.
But this fellow in Texas, Salvador Ramos, he legally bought his 2 guns. And now, of course, we didn't have the paper trail and the record, to your point, but do you think that would require maybe stiffer background checks?
You know, no matter what you do, people fall through the cracks. You can't identify all these problems. You can't arrest somebody for a crime they haven't committed yet. These are difficult issues, but again, the solution lies in stronger families, more supportive communities, I would argue renewed faith. We've lost that. We stopped teaching values in so many of our schools. Now we're teaching wokeness. We're indoctrinating our children with things like CRT, telling some children they're not equal to others and they're the cause of other people's problems.
But these shootings, Senator,
there's
were
a
going
sickness.
on long before CRT and wokeness, right?
Well, yeah, I think CRT's been going on under the radar for quite some time as well. Wokeness has been. Liberal indoctrination has been. This is a much larger issue than what a simple new gun law is going to. It's not going to solve it. It's not going to solve it.
It's not going to solve it. It's not going to solve it. I mean, we don't know because we'd never even try. But look, we have to do? We have to protect the guns. And so I'm just going to blame it on wokeness. Do you guys remember like 2 days ago when Republicans said, hey, we shouldn't politicize this tragedy? That's over. They never meant it. Because guess what? This is nothing more than an attempt to politicize their attacks on teachers. To go back and to attack teachers and education by making this, this is an issue of wokeness. That's what it is. That's the reason we're having school shootings. Not because of guns. It's the woke. It's the wokies. The wokeness. That's it. Yeah, no, you got to put everybody to sleep. And then that's going to solve the real problem. Bullshit. Now, look, again, this isn't at all surprising to me. It shouldn't be surprising to you. If you know Republicans, you know that this is exactly what they do every single time. It's a distraction. It has nothing to do with wokeness, nothing to do with critical race theory. I love how he says, critical race theory, it's gone under the radar. No, it hasn't. That's a complete and utter lie pulled out right from his ass. That's where he's getting his so-called facts. And again, he can't back anything up that he is saying. Not at all. Because look, Texas already banned critical race theory back in 2021. How's this critical race theory then? Again, it wasn't even being taught in K through 12 because it's not a K through 12 course. It's college level. But again, it doesn't matter. I could say this all day. I could point out all these different facts that are verifiable to these people, and they'll just ignore it. It goes right over their head. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to acknowledge it. Because you got to tap into them feels, man. And nothing brings out the feels than attacking the wokies. 21 people are dead. 19 children. 19 children. They sure as hell didn't die from critical race theory. Did they? No. They were shot. They were shot by an 18-year-old who bought weapons of war. Because the laws in Texas allowed him to do so. He had access to this. These weapons, this gun, the AR-15, is capable of disintegrating 3 inches of bone. Decapitation wrecks, destroys blood vessels, arteries. You don't even have to get shot in an artery or, very vital place for that cavitation to make you bleed out in minutes. It absolutely wrecks a human body. That's the kind of weapons that we're selling to 18-year-olds, people who can't even rent a car. Can't rent a car. Can't do, a lot of these things. Can't buy a beer. Nope. But you can buy a gun. You can buy a gun. These kids didn't stand a chance when put up with that weaponry. One of them had to cover themselves in the blood of their dead classmates, in order to survive the slaughter. And Ron Johnson, he's got that same blood on his hands and is covering himself in more of it in order to defend the guns. And he's using the weakest, most bullshit argument to do so. He is absolutely beyond disgusting. What a complete and utter heartless ghoul who had to take an entire day after fleeing from a reporter to come up with this bullshit talking point. He probably had to wait for the NRA to give him his talking points. And that's it. And we know why. Again, he has taken over $100 million from the NRA to become a sad little lapdog bitch. NRA, you want me to blame the teachers that are braver than the police who died protecting your students? Sure, I have no soul. I will smear them all day long. But first, give me my check. Where's my check? Where's my money? Give me the money. Give me the money. It's all I live for. It's all I crave. And yes, you give me the money, I will be your bitch. Just as long as that check clears. I have no soul. None at all. Man. So now social media. I want to read a couple of responses to this. John Huck says, yes, teaching wokeness and CRT have been the reason for school shootings over the last few decades, even though nobody had even heard of either before last year. It's a great point. Lawhawk says, nothing about mass shootings has anything to do with liberal indoctrination. It has everything to do with the absurdly easily availability of guns in states like Texas, where an 18-year-old can buy an AR-15 and ammo easier than it is to rent a car. Another person says, being told what to teach, blamed if certain scores aren't met, expected to be a line of defense, bullied if they are concerned about being infected, students disrespecting them, underfunded and underpaid. People wonder why there is a teacher shortage. Let me add finally the irony here. Republicans like Ron Johnson are sitting there blaming wokeness, they're attacking teachers, while at the same time expecting these very teachers to arm themselves to confront a mass shooter, who oftentimes ends up being a student. They want teachers to basically figure out who in their class are going to have to shoot in order to stop a mass shooting. Now, these same people, trust teachers to be able to do that, but do not trust teachers with actual teaching, with actual education. Because they keep banning books and they keep attacking teachers for being woke Marxists, groomers even. If you can remember that discussion from not even a month ago, they were out there calling teachers groomers. Now they're expecting these teachers to take up arms to defense against mass shooters that, by the way, their actions are allowing to be armed. They're essentially giving these guns to people who go out and do massive crimes. And by the way, these same Republicans are also passing bills where you can't even mention gay people in class, because apparently gay people are more dangerous in the schools, as well as math books, than guns. Monsters, all of them. Feckless. Evil. Let's go to evil, by the way. There's a new report out there from USA Today, which alleges that a Christian summer camp in Missouri had ignored sexual assault allegations by female campers at the Kanakuk camp in Branson, Missouri. So now, according to this report, which is just a bombshell report, you had 4 girls, campers, who went to a counselor back in 2016 to report that they had been sexually assaulted by a male camper. Now, you would think, of course, this is a huge problem, that male camper would be expelled, gone, punished in some way. But no, that's not what happened. That counselor actually told these girls to stand down. What's more, one of the girls told USA Today that they were told that it was time to forgive their assailant, even though he had faced no repercussions. In fact, here's what one of the girls said in summarizing the camp director's reaction, quote, "We believe in salvation. We don't believe in punishment. Jesus forgives, and we are going to forgive the male camper. We're going to help him through his problems." Yes, we do not believe in punishment. Of course, unless you're a woman who gets pregnant outside of marriage. Yes, we will punish you for having sex, for the crime of having sex, and not allow you to get an abortion. Sure. Yeah. What they really mean is we don't believe in punishment when it comes to men. When it comes to boys. Boys will be boys. But don't worry, we'll forgive the boys. But we'll go after the girls. And we're going to make you forgive your attacker. The report goes on to detail how this was part of a pattern where camp staffers repeatedly disregarded red flags and prioritized ministering to those accused of wrongdoing instead of seeking justice for victims. Yes, we'll just, we'll take this this predator, right? And we'll just minister to them. That'll fix the problem. More Jesus. More Jesus. No accountability. I mean, of course, I mean, why would you actually go after a person perpetrating sexual assault? I mean, that would mean that you would actually have to care about girls. But we know that fundamentalists and church leaders, in a lot of cases, do not care about girls. No, what they actually care about is controlling girls' bodies, women's bodies. That's it. That's all they are to them, is a walking womb to be controlled. This is fundamentalism, rape culture, all rolled into one. That's what the situation is. And by the way, this camp, let me just say, in this camp, it's not their first rodeo when it comes to allegations of sexual misconduct. Back in 2009, camp director Peter Newman was charged with abusing multiple children. Or, being a pedo. And in that case, the camp also ignored years worth of warning signs about abuse allegations, just burying them under the rug, sweeping them under the rug. We don't care. Documents Kanakuk released during civil court proceedings show camp leaders were made aware of Newman's nudity with children and other inappropriate behavior on multiple occasions from 1999 until his confession 10 years later, writes USA Today. Former Kanakuk staff interviewed for the story, including a supervisor who recommends Newman be fired, who recommended Newman be fired back in 2003, said that those complaints were repeatedly excused and dismissed. Because it was girls and children that were making these allegations. And they would rather defend the pedos, the people that were doing the assaulting, rather defend them than the children. Hey, QAnon, where are you? Where's QAnon? I found the children that are being abused. I found them. It's right here. It's in a Christian summer camp. Where are you, QAnon? Oh, it's also in the Catholic Church. It's in all the religions, really. I mean, you could look at Islam in Afghanistan. Okay, it's in all the religion. So I'm not just pointing out Christianity. Where are you, QAnon? Where are we? We found the abusers. We found the pedos. Where are you? Are you? Oh, are you still looking in for the pizza shop? Is that it? Maybe you ought to look for your brains that are missing. Here we have multiple instances of sexual abuse of children. And you're too busy, what, looking for code words and about pizza, about cheese pizza, and in somebody's emails? Give me a break. They're not going to do anything about that. No, why? Because if you focus on religion, well, it would pretty much destroy your argument that it's only the elites in the Democratic Party that are doing these kinds of things. It's only elites. It's only the Hollywood. No. Look, there's no specific political predilection for being an abuser. Predators are attracted to power. Now, of course, you could definitely make the argument that it's easier to be a predator as a Republican because Republicans will defend you, as we've seen in multiple cases. Still, generally, predators are attracted to power. They're attracted to power. Harvey Weinstein, very powerful person. Jeffrey Epstein, very powerful person. Dennis Hastert, powerful. Kevin Spacey, on and on and on. We can go on. Predators will seek power. And who has a lot of power in our society? Well, the church. Churches have power. In fact, Republicans continue to empower churches. And so it's disgusting. It's disgusting to know that children, kids, girls, the least protected people in society, we can't even protect them from being massacred in school, much less being sexually violated at a summer camp. By the way, girls, least protected in society from this stuff, least believed, and the most heavily regulated. Republicans would rather regulate uteruses, guns, or go after the actual predators. I mean, look, the Supreme Court's ready to strip women and girls of their reproductive rights, power over their own bodies, control over their own bodies, and yet are willing to ignore all of this stuff. How the men and the boys, how the systems of power are preying on them. Absolutely disgusting. Jesus. All right. That's all I got for stories today. As if I hadn't already depressed you enough. So, let's go to Super Chats here. Virginia Mackey says cops will only act if they have a clear, overwhelming advantage. They're just cowards and bullies. It's true, unfortunately. Gabby Mathis says, my heart bleeds for all parents whose children were killed. The government does nothing. Yeah. Madi Dardo says, those of us who are humane must take back the future, because if we do not, there will be no future. I agree with that. Yeah, no, if you're not depressed, then you're probably furious. We have every right to be. All right. Callie Fox, thank you for subbing over on Twitch for a month at tier 1. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thank you for doing so. All right. Let's see if we have any memberships here. Thank you, Widgie Dragon, for becoming a supporter of the channel. Thank you also, Boulder Crypto Sissy Dragon, for resubbing yesterday. Appreciate that if I hadn't got to that already. And again, thank you for liking and sharing the stream. Don't forget to do that before you leave. Again, it helps us out greatly. And again, thank you everyone for super chats and all that stuff. Zachary Flick says, it isn't your fault. This is our reality right now, and we're the only ones that can do anything about it. It's true. And we need to, of course, we need to keep fighting. And that's the thing. You know, turning that anger and sadness, rage, into productive action. All right. Yeah, that's all. So please, again, like and share the stream, like and share the videos if you haven't already. We're gonna do a raid here on Twitch. This time, let's go into. It looks like we don't have anything. We don't have TYT doing anything today. So we'll go into raid into the serfs. So, all right. Try to have a great weekend. Try to recharge. Get our mind in the fight for ahead. And we'll be back here on Tuesday. Thank you all. Love you. Stay safe. Stay sane. And we'll see you back here next week. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody.
Big, massive dumps. Dumps.
Who's got a hammer?
Oh,
No. No.
Disappointed! I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.